Stockbridge. He's buried in Forest Lawn Cemetery just south of Atlanta. Obviously, the Medal of Honor, Navy Cross, Navy Meritorious Service Medal, 2 Silver Stars, Legion of Merit, Bronze Star, Purple Heart, and too many campaign decorations to name, really. The Medal of Honor that's in this display was pinned on General Davis by President Truman in the Oval Office. These are all his original medals, are not reproductions or anything. General Davis was actually wounded 6 times, but refused evacuation because he didn't want to lose his troops, and he'd possibly lose a command if he was evacuated. So there's only 1 Purple Heart here, but he was wounded 6 times. Again, I'd appreciate the committee's indulgence if I get this dropped in the next couple of days to have a short meeting. I'm sure this is not going to be a controversial issue with anybody here, but I appreciate the committee's time. Thanks, sir.
Well, I'm sure to have our full support. Yes. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Well, I remember my old president, Harry Truman, who was head of the division I fought in during World War II. He was in World War I, 35th Infantry Division, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska National Guard. He made the statement that he'd rather get the Congressional Medal of Honor than be President of the United States.
I think it's probably a lot harder to hold than as president sometimes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Well, I think we got more than a quorum here, haven't we? We got almost full committee here today. You know? That's good. We're here for one. I'm State Representative John Yates, Chairman of the Defense and Veterans Affairs Committee for the House, and we have one bill today, and it's Senator Hunter's bill, Senate. Bill 203, everybody got a copy? And he is in another committee right now, and he asked me to describe the bill, and everybody got a copy? Have everybody read it? I just gonna kind of go down a few. I mean, they gave me some talking points that I might mention. We're going back a long ways, you know. It's World War I. That goes before my time, and that's a long ways. Not too far before I was born, actually. When I was a kid, I was born in 1921, and there was a lot of. I guess I learned my respect for veterans in those days. There was a lot of veterans walking around with suffering from phosgene gas and mustard gas from World War I, and it probably due to the many people that had it and suffered from it and everything is led the leaders to kind of, as far as possible, outlaw the use of gas in the future. I know we were prepared for it in World War II. I wore gas masks for a while until it got too burdensome, and everybody figured, well, it's not going to happen. And we had one scare one night, but it really wasn't an attack. And we were prepared for it, and that's probably the reason we never had an attack, because we were prepared for it. And the enemy knew that. So this bill today is as it says, it created the Georgia World War I Centennial Commission. It's 100 years since the World War I. Commission shall consist of 2 members appointed by the governor, 2 members appointed by the President of the Senate, 2 members appointed by the Speaker of the House. Each member of the commission shall serve the existence of the commission. Any vacancy will be filled by the one that did the appointing. Chairman of the commission, vice chairman shall be appointed by the commission from among its members. The commissions may establish such bylaw and so forth. There's one paragraph in here that says that we're not going to expend any money for it. If there's money required, they'll get the money up and pay for whatever they got to pay for. So we're not talking about spending any money. And it tells about having hearings, and the purpose of the Georgia World War I Centennial Commission shall be to plan, develop, and execute programs, projects, and activities to commemorate the centennial of World War I and Georgia's role in it. You know, it was a terrible war for veterans, and a lot of them suffered from the various things. I had a little time to spare over there one time in World War II, and I flew over very carefully and examined all those trenches. At Verdun, one of the worst battles, and those trenches had not been covered up or anything, and they were so full of ammunition, unspent ammunition, that they never restored that ground. And the only thing you saw in that area was an occasional goat going grazing in the grass and whatever, but there was all kind of explosives there, and the trenches were just deep trenches where those soldiers had to have trench warfare, and it was a horrible thing, really, and that they didn't dare go in there and try to touch it because it was all that buried unexploded ammunition. To encourage private organizations and local governments in Georgia to organize and participate in activities commemorating the centennial of World War I, and to serve as a clearinghouse for collection and dissemination of information about events and plans in Georgia for the centennial of World War I. The Commission will hold hearings, sit and act such times and places, take testimony, receive such evidence the Commission considers appropriate to carry out its duties. The Commission shall secure directly from any State Department or agency such information as the Commission considers necessary to carry out the provisions of this Act. Upon the request of the Chairman of the Commission, the head of such departments or agencies shall furnish such information to the Commission. And it said the Commission may not enter into any contract, lease, or other legal agreement that extends beyond the date of the termination of this Commission. Then here's how it's paid for. Gifts, bequests, and devices of service or property, both real and personal, received by the Commission provided under this article shall be the only source of funds to cover the cost incurred by the Commission under this article. No such state funds shall be appropriated for the Commission's operation. Not later than December 31st, 2015, and not later than the last day of each 3-month period thereafter, the Commission shall submit to the General Assembly and the Governor a report of the activities and plans for the Commission. Not later than June 30th, 2017, the Commission shall submit to General Assembly and Governor report containing specific recommendations for commemorating the centennial of World War I and coordinate related activities. The Commission shall terminate by the date 30 days after the date of the completion of activities under this Act honoring the centennial observation World War I of July 28, 2019, whichever date is earlier. Any questions about, I think it says something that is, you might say, almost mandatory that we pass, because if we don't pass it, they can't do any of this stuff. And I think it was, they call it the war to end all wars, and of course World War II proved, and a few wars since then have proved that, I don't think, it'll go by the Bible, I think. The Bible says there'll be wars and rumors of wars, so I don't think man can control that part as long as we got mean people, and I never dreamed after the Nazis, I couldn't believe it could get any worse, and now the ISIS has come along and it's worse than Nazism, because these people don't really have I don't think they have a soul. They don't have any care about it. Anytime you run across a soldier or anybody else that don't mind dying, don't take any, he considers it an honor to die, that's bad business. My old General Patton said, I kind of follow his advice, don't die for your country, make that other sucker die for his, but is the way you win wars. But it's this, anybody got any comments on this?
Just an observation, this is a 4-year thing?
Well, it goes by the dates that I mentioned there.
The end date was
well, all we're
2019.
doing is really All we are really worried about, I guess, is setting the thing up so that they can do what they want to do,
Right, but I
what
mean-
they allowed to do under this bill.
So until it gets to.
And we
July
do this kind of
28th,
thing all the
19th.
time, you know, they always commemorate something, but this is a really biggie, I would say. You know, we'll have one for World War II one of these days, and that's probably the main ones we'll have, although the other wars are just as important.
You do have a question,
Yes, sir.
Representative Prince.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm clear. So this is basically a commission.
Oh, what?
This is a commission that's put
Yes,
together,
we're
just being
not
put
really
together
doing-
to recognize the centennial of World War I. That's all it does.
Yeah, the things that I read.
Yeah, I read
It gives
that.
them permission to do that without cost to the state.
Okay. My question there is, do we not have some type of organization within Veteran Affairs
Now,
now that could oversee this? Sort of do this
I don't
function?
think so. They wouldn't have made this, I don't think, if they had somebody already written to cover it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. It's for one specific purpose. And I guess the reason they set it up is so that they figure that the people who are doing these jobs now wouldn't have time to do everything they should do. So they set it up for this purpose, and as I say, they will go out, no doubt, and get some people to contribute enough money to cover the cost of getting this thing organized and so forth.
Yeah, make a motion?
Yes, sir?
I move that this SB 203 pass.
Second. Any other discussion? Any other questions about it? Is any other thing that need to be mentioned in this meeting, anything today before we adjourn?
You need to take the vote.
Uh-huh.
Take the vote.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Okay.
All in favor, raise your right hand.
I was going to raise my left.
What's wrong with you? You hurting now? Opposed? I believe it's unanimous, I think. Thank you. Thank you very much for attending the meeting.